Good evening, Jeremy Fernandez with ABC News. Northern New South Wales is still tonight in the grip of a flood emergency. More than 31,000 people are under evacuation orders. The SES has responded to more than 2,200 calls for help and have carried out more than 400 flood rescues. There is some good news in Lismore. The floodwaters there are now starting to recede. To the northeast, the small town of Burringbar was hit by a small wall of water last night and is still isolated. And there's been extensive damage in Murwillumbah, leaving many residents heartbroken. Ruby Cornish begins our coverage from Murwillumbah.
Murwillumbah is considered the jewel of the Tweed Valley, but today it's a wreck. The water tore through the town this morning, knocking over parked cars and even trucks.
Picked it up like a big esky and just whipped it across the road.
As quickly as the water rose, it receded, revealing the devastation it left behind. John Nolan's business was swamped.
Everybody's in the same boat that I'm in. Everyone's suffering and lost stuff, and yeah, it's just terrible. It's just terrible. It's heartbreaking.
In the nearby town of Burringbar, residents woke to a wall of water and did what they could to stay safe.
We're more worried about the girls and the baby. We put them up into the attic, up into the roof through the manhole, and we just waited for it to pan out.
Also waiting are the isolated families of Cornish, where the Wilson and Richmond rivers meet. Paddocks are underwater, cattle and horses stranded, and the deluge just keeps coming.
The 20,000 or so New South Wales residents who've been evacuated are still in that evacuation phase. It is not yet safe to ask anybody to return to their homes.
In Lismore, SES volunteers spent the day paddling down streets, checking on people who were holed up in shops.
You guys going okay in here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got some water upstairs and whatnot, and a big tucker and this and that. Do you know how fast it's going down? The rate of fall?
It's changing all the time.
It's fairly slow, obviously.
There may be worse places to be than trapped inside a pub, but this man needs to get to a nearby property to feed his dogs. The SES promised to come back for him later. First, they had to help move people who'd overstayed their welcome at this motel.
So we're going to have another boat come back for the rest of them?
Yeah, we'll come back.
Some looked shell-shocked, but the motel owner says the group bonded so much they've agreed to hold a reunion in a decade.
Everybody has been amazing. We couldn't have been stranded with a better group of people staying at a motel.
There's only one mode of transport at the moment, with families kayaking to and from their homes to bring supplies and survey the damage.
No, we'll just go in and see what it's like, engage it now, and then we'll see where we go from there.
In every flood-ravaged town, people are saying the same thing. They didn't expect it to be this bad.
Woke up Friday morning and looked out the front window and, yeah, there was nothing. And so I thought, OK, so that's it. And then, yeah, a couple of hours later, all hell broke loose.
Within 10 minutes, the backyard was a lake and the water was almost to where we're standing here.
Adrian Moore is planning to sell his house and had hoped to do it before the flood hit. Now he has a massive and unpleasant clean-up on his hands.
It's just rotten mud smell. It's just not nice. You know, if it dries, then you try to hose it off. It's just terrible.
At least he's able to begin. Thousands of other residents remain evacuated and are being told to sit tight for at least another 2 days.
And Ruby is still in Murwillumbah tonight. Ruby, what's the area of greatest concern for those who are there tonight?
Good evening. Yes, well, residents are still without power here in Murwillumbah. The floodwaters may have receded, but it's still a scene of chaos. The evacuation orders are still in place, and so some people are camping out in public areas at higher ground. The emotional toll is what's easiest to see here. We just met John Nolan in that package, and this is his business. He tells me that the floodwaters came up to here and that everything inside is now lost. Behind me, you can see about $50,000 worth of equipment that he's piled up here, and it's a similar story down the streets. But Jeremy, what we do keep hearing is that the worst situations bring out the best in people. People have been rallying around, helping with the clean-up, and that's really been a reassurance to residents here.
Ruby Cornish in Murwillumbah, thank you. Let's go now to the SES, to Becky Goldings from the SES.